For our final session and closing keynote of the day, we have Matias Woloski, who's co-founder and CTO at Auth0, who will share with us his own experience, learnings, and insights around the office of the CTO at a late-stage startup. After the keynote, we'll be back live with Andy for a recap of today's sessions and a quick look at what's coming up tomorrow. In the meantime, over to you, Matias.
All right. Hi, everyone. I cannot see you, but virtual hug to everyone watching this final keynote for the day. As Antonio said, I'm Matias Woloski. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Auth0, which is a company that provides infrastructure for developers around authentication and authorization. And what I'm going to talk about today is this concept of the office of the CTO. In particular, I like to talk about my experience and my own learnings of doing such thing. And so I'm gonna kick it off by first saying that this is something that might mean different things in different contexts. The office of the CTO varies based on the company and the stage that the company is. This is why I'm titling this like the office of the CTO at the late stage startups, which is where we are today in the journey at Auth0. But different organizations will have different meanings and functions for this department in the organization. Typically, it's a small area of the organization, and in some cases, it's a function for sales and the field organization to provide thought leadership. In some other cases, it's a research lab type of org. And what I'm going to talk about is what that is, or what that looks like in the case of Auth0, and what I liked to create myself out of this. So in order to do that, I'm going to first go through the different stages of my journey as a CTO of the company. As you can imagine, I started this company with my co-founder, who's currently the CEO, and I was in charge of all technology and product engineering. And that was the case for at least 2006, where I ran everything: product design, engineering, security, you name it. It was a crazy time. And the first thing that I hand off to someone else was security. And that's where we hired a CISO in 2017. I kept running everything else. 2018, I hired a VP of engineering. And that was the first big kind of offload of responsibilities to someone else. And that was the first time that I kind of say, well, okay, I now have more times in my hand. What can I do? And that's when I created the first version of the Office of the CTO, while I was still running the product organization and design. But I wanted to have this team, and so the first version was kind of like a SWAT team, because we still had a lot of things to fix in the organization and in the scaling of the technology and the tech debt. But later on in 2019, we hired a CPO. Where essentially that's when I completely offloaded all the operational responsibilities, and that's when I had full-time dedication for this Office of the CTO version 2. So I'm going to talk about that version of the team. And one of the learnings of the first version was that the organizational structure is a key element of it. Before this version, I was reporting to the CEO, which was my co-founder, and the VP was also reporting to the CEO, and that was creating a lot of friction in the process because we were working on stuff that was kind of on the sides, and we would hand off or throw over the fence things to engineering teams, and that wasn't working well. And so in the new version, when we hired this chief product officer, I decided it was best for the company that I reported to him, because I really wanted to focus on working on this long-term innovation and building stuff, not just doing research. So it was very important to create that alignment across the product organization. And so I'm peers of the VP of engineering and VP of product. That was a key learning of the process. So if you look at the vision of the team and the charter that I have for my team, this is what we put in the Confluence space, and we focus on long-term innovation, and we work ahead of engineering and product 18 plus months. So meaning that we are working on prototypes, doing research, doing also strategic core development. And the modus operandi is kind of incubation model, typically how a startup would work, and with a VC type of model where we would decide that something is worth investing, and based on that, we will build a team to go and build that. And so my team is doing that incubation of those ideas. And the third thing that is, it's a key element of it, this is that this is not like a research lab thing where like it's, we are writing papers to the ACM and stuff like that. We are connecting with customer problems, and that's a key element. So another key learning of and reasons why this model is being successful in the organization is that we have kind of two horizons. We call Horizon 1, which is the core focus of the product engineering organization, which goes essentially until like from now to 18 months, meaning a year and a half. That's the core or roadmap, organic roadmap, we call it. And then my focus with my team is 18 plus months onwards, as I said before. And these clear swim lanes were a key aspect of making this successful, because essentially it allows us to have clear goals, different goals from the other side of the organization, different processes as well, different type of people that work on one and the other. If you read the whole pioneer, settler, and town planner theory from Wardley, you may have seen that he talks about these profiles, and my team is more about pioneering things, right? So working with the ambiguity and uncertainty and figuring out things, going from 0 to 1. Another way to look at this or to cut this thing is well, if you look at the x-axis, this 2x2 shows products and markets. The product engineering organization, which is 95% of the organization or more, focus on our existing product and our existing market, which is developers. So it's the core product selling to developers, and we focus on these adjacencies, potential adjacencies, meaning new products selling to existing market, meaning developers. So, for example, fine-grained authorization is an area that we are looking into, which is adjacent to authentication or privacy. It's another area. And similarly, if we go up, there is markets that we can go after with the same product, meaning that, okay, how the product could change, what things we could create to go after a certain market that is something that we don't currently do, like, I don't know, government, for example. This also creates clarity and alignment in the organization. And this artifact, or this mind map, it's a bit blurred because it has the actual things that we can do. It gives a perspective of all the things that we can go after as adjacencies. And this is another good artifact to share with the teams and especially with the leadership. Here are the things that we are really focusing on. So there is no stepping on each other's toes as we both sides of the organization has to innovate. So this is kind of overall like some kind of key learnings and key artifacts that we created so that the Office of the CTO is a successful endeavor. And another thing that it was a critical aspect of this setup was to also make sure that people understand what are the work streams that we have as a team, and being transparent about it. And so we decided to focus on 3 different areas. And this is kind of ordered by the amount of time that we spent on each. So new product adjacencies is the main core focus. So we spend probably like 80% of our time on these. And we actually we have 5 people, and we are we incubate the teams that are building these adjacencies. I will go in a minute into how that works. The second one is we help with corporate development, meaning that like at some point in the organization we want to start doing acquisitions, and those acquisitions require some due diligence, and so we help honing those the questions and understanding how the integration might look like, because we understand of course the core product, and so the whole idea here is that again like the swim lanes are clear between the core engineering organization and this arm of the organization, so we can give full focus to these type of things. And the final thing is this research, demos, white papers. It's a bag of things that I kind of we kind of dedicate 10 to 20% of the time, depending on the topic. But for example, right now we are doing some research around decentralized identity, which is something that is kind of upcoming and started to become something that people are talking about, but it's still not mature as a thing in the industry. So we would go and do some research on how that looks like, create a point of view of the organization, how we want to talk about it externally, and doing some proof of concepts, talking to potential partners, put them on our marketplace. So it's all these activities that again like might not fall into the core engineering organization, but it's still valuable to do those, right? So that's a third area. We do also some demos, feature of authentication. We're playing with like authenticating using your brain waves. There is some devices now that it allows you to do those type of things. And again, this is more about painting the picture of what is the future in a proof of concept type of way. So the final thing that I wanted to bring up is this like integration with product engineering concept. In the first version of the Office of CTO that I told you about, that I was reporting to the CEO, and the VP of engineering also was reporting to the CEO. This was an issue because the integration was like messy. We would hand off things, and everybody would ask why, and like the engineering team was like this is not working because like we're getting code and the handoff is messy. So we created this clear like process where and timeline where you can see Octo on the first row doing the research and prototyping for 3 to 6 months. There is a product manager that acts as a liaison between the two organizations and help building the business case, which also means like they have ownership of the whole thing. And finally, there's a funding decision that is made after a certain time. These times, of course, can change, but there's a funding decision that typically lies into the product leadership organization. And when that happens, that would typically align with the budgeting season, which means that we would ask for budget to build these things. And so that's when like it starts with this new product team that also happens as part of my organization. We hire a PM, we hire a designer, we hire the engineers, and we start working together as a team, doing again the more discovery, talking to customers, understanding use cases, and doing the kind of the full life cycle of the product development. But the important thing here to note is that by the point that we got there, we already have validated that this is something worth building. We have some early access customers that decided to do a proof of concept with it in the other phase. So we are kind of de-risking like the whole thing before we start building the team. And remember that these are adjacencies. This is not like adding a feature to the product. Something else worth noting is that the prototypes are like throw away if we decide that they are not worth it and we want to start again. This is important for engineering to feel that they own this as well. But the important thing is that we are incubating this together. So that's where also it's a big learning for me. it doesn't work if you just throw over the fence some code and expect that to be picked up by some engineering team on the other side. And so with that, these are my learnings. These are the key elements and artifacts that I wanted to share with you, because there is not much content like this in the internet when I was starting to look at this problem. So I hope this was useful, and any questions you can ask on the Slack channel. I will join shortly. And thank you very much.